Well, they did it. Colorado has went out and revamped their entire offensive line, signing, going out and getting 5 commitments over the last few days via the transfer portal, and the number 1 offensive tackle in the country, Jordan Seaton, committed to them live on Undisputed on FS1. Let's talk about how this reshaped Colorado offensive line going into the spring will be able to help them in their first season back in the Big 12 right after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsyJr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and notification bell because we upload all the time. Now, Coach Prime during the season, when Shedeur was getting sacked, a record, Colorado record, I think 56 times this year. They give up 50, not necessarily all of them went to Shedeur, but 56 sacks was given up by the Colorado offensive line this past year. And they asked Prime during the season, they said, yo, how do you fix this? Like, how do you fix this issue with sacks and how terrible your offensive line is? And he said, you got to go out and get new linemen. He said, quite frankly, point blank, you got to go out and get new linemen, go out and get new players. And that's exactly what he did. It started on December 7th when he landed a commitment from Jordan Seaton, the number 1 offensive tackle in the entire country. This is Jordan Seaton's 247 recruitment profile. Jordan was able to make his announcement on live on Undisputed with Michael Irvin, Keyshawn Johnson, and of course Skip Bayless. 6'5", 287 pounds. He's gonna have to be around 210, 310, 320 by the time he plays because the boys are way bigger in college. But he's a lean, tall young man. Like I said, a top 30, top 20 recruit in the country, number 1 offensive tackle, according 5-star recruit, according to the 247 composite. Had offers from everywhere: Alabama, Florida, Ohio State, Tennessee. Actually, this, to a lot of people, this was actually a surprise with the commitment to Colorado on December 7th, because you see on the 2nd, he took a visit to Ohio State. And a lot of people thought he was an Ohio State guy. They had their main recruiter. Florida was really recruiting him really heavily. As you see, they had 2 primary recruiters. But he got that late visit into Colorado on November 4th, and he saw what he needed to see. And it worked. It worked for Coach Prime. It worked for the Colorado Buffaloes. But they didn't stop there. But before I get into what else they went into, I've talked about, the recruiting rankings, and some people say, oh, 5 stars don't matter. No, stars matter, because the teams with the most stars are the teams that typically in the college football playoff. That's just how it works. Alabama is always there because they get a lot of 5 stars. Texas gets a lot of 5 stars now. Michigan gets a lot of 5 stars, and then Washington is an up-and-coming program that has some studs on their team. So, yeah, stars do matter. And specifically, there are a couple of position groups that the recruiting rankings typically get right. Quarterbacks up and down. The top-end guys, they get right sometimes, but then after like 1, it starts getting a little janky in the quarterback room. I'm going to just be honest. That's why you see a lot of these 5 stars who are 6th-year guys playing on their 4th school, and they ain't end up nothing. But two positions, especially at the high end, that they typically get right is cornerback. I've talked about this. Cornerback and tackles. Offensive tackles, the recruiting rankings typically get those right. And I just want to show you, these are young men who were true freshmen. It's the top 2 offensive tackles that were true freshmen this year. And this is who they were, if you don't know. And I'll tell you how they did. Caden Proctor at Alabama and Francis Mauga at Miami. These 2 young men started as true freshmen at left tackle at both schools. Caden Proctor started at left tackle at Alabama as a true freshman. Francis, I think he was actually a right tackle, but started as a true freshman at Miami. Typically get the tackles right. The tackle, so if you're ranked as the number 1 or even sometimes the number 2 offensive tackle in the country, pretty freaking good most of the time. I mean, Caden Proctor came out of Des Moines, Iowa. They're finding these guys in Des Moines, Iowa, and giving them #1 overall rankings. Got to be pretty freaking good. The difference between these guys and Jordan, I will say, you can see it. It's the weight. Caden Proctor was 6'7", 330. Francis was 6'5.5", 330. Jordan's coming in a little light in the britches at 6'5", 287. He gonna get that. That's why I said he's gonna have to get that weight up before the first snap is taken next year. He's got to be at least 315. He's got to be at least 315. So that means he's gonna have to add upwards of 30 pounds from the time he gets to Colorado. I don't know if he's going to be an early enrollee or not, but from the time he gets to Colorado, by the time that first snap is taken, if he ends up being the starter, he's going to have to gain at least 30 pounds. So I just wanted to show you that, because typically they get the offensive tackles, the rankings of those guys it's pretty accurate for the most part. But Coach Prime, that was actually just the start of the flood of offensive linemen that will be committing to Colorado over this weekend. And this is just a quick graphic from Hayes Fawcett, On Three's Hayes Fawcett, one of their lead guys. And he said Colorado's O-line recruiting since Thursday. #1 offensive tackle, Jordan Seaton. UConn transfer, Yakiri Walker. He's an inside lineman. Indiana transfer, Khalil Benson. He's a tackle, 6'6", 310. UTEP transfer, Justin Mayer. He's an inside lineman. And Houston transfer, Tyler Johnson, 6'5", 320 pounds. They brought in 5 guys who all plan to start. And that's not to mention that they will have Tyler Brown, the former FCS All-American, Jackson State All-SWAC performer Tyler Brown, who will be an inside lineman for this team as well, all competing for some snaps, all competing. The beautiful thing I would say about bringing in these guys, outside of Jordan, these other 4 guys have FBS starting experience. I think between these 4 guys, there's like 70 starts, right? Now, that doesn't mean that they're great. I'm not going to act like that means that all these guys are great. Sometimes kids are transferring for a reason. But to have experience matters. I'm going to say that again. To have experience matters. Doesn't mean that you're going to go in there and rip it up. Because last year they brought in a bunch of transfer offensive linemen too. Let's not forget that. They did. At the same time, those guys that they brought in last year, one, it was a tougher conference. The Pac-12 was just nasty this year. I mean, Washington's in the playoff. Oregon was a 10-point favorite over Washington. Washington State finished second to last, and they hung 56 on Colorado. Like, this conference, Caleb Williams was the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, had another great year, and they finished 7-5. So the Pac-12 was just a gauntlet this year. UCLA had a top 10 defense all year, and they wanted to fire their coach. This was a tough conference. I'm not going to act like it wasn't. At the same time, they're going to a weaker conference, which helps. And these guys have more starting experience. All 4 of the transfers, being former starters, started this past year. Some of them even have some accolades. Helps. And then bringing in the #1 tackle, like I said, he's going to have to add upwards of 30 pounds. At the same time, it's good. It's good. It's a good starting point for a team that gave up 56 sacks last year. 56 sacks last year. Now, what I will say, though, too, to that helps a lot. Shedeur is clearly happy. He's taking the boys out to eat, all of that stuff already. But part of not having as many sacks next year will also fall at his feet, too. Those 56 sacks just aren't all on the offensive line. Some of that's on the wide receivers for not getting open, but another large chunk of that, too, and we have to be real with this, lays at the feet of Shedeur Sanders. He's got to get rid of the ball. He cannot hold on to the ball for dear life again in 2024. I don't care if you don't have a 70% completion percentage. Sometimes you got to throw it away. Sometimes you have to scramble and run. Sometimes you have to throw the ball away and bail out your linemen and bail them out. Don't leave yourself subjugated to getting hit and having fractures in your vertebrae because you're holding on to the ball too long. I'm not saying that the Colorado line wasn't pathetic. It was, especially late in the year. But him holding on to the ball doesn't help. Also, the play calling. You have to run the ball more. You have to run the ball more. I heard Savion Wilkerson say, our yards per carry actually isn't that bad. We just need the opportunity. We need the opportunities to actually run the ball. So the play calling has to be better. The quarterback's decision-making as far as holding on to the ball has to be better. And then, of course, the upgraded offensive line talent and the offensive line play has to be better. But this is an overarching thing. This isn't just a one thing fix all. No, getting better offensive linemen does help. But the play calling has to be better, meaning you don't need to throw the ball 50 times a game. You can mix in some runs in there. And the quarterback's got to get rid of the ball. Forget about your completion percentage, bro. Like, it's okay. It's okay. Forget about your completion percentage. It's okay to throw the ball away. And this is not just a one-time thing. Like, he had these same issues at Jackson State that just had a way better offensive line playing against, they had more talent than the other team. But at times he would hold on to the ball too long. At times they threw the ball too much. Got to run the ball more. Got to throw the ball away. Help out your offensive line. Help out your team. And then playing in a weaker conference will help out a lot too. Instead of seeing Washington and Oregon and USC and UCLA, you'll see Cincinnati and Central Florida, and Kansas State, teams like that. That schedule's a lot more doable, Texas Tech, than the teams of the former Pac-12. This is a big thing for Deion. This is a big thing for Coach Prime. And this will just put more expectations on what they should do in the Big 12 in year one. I already told you guys what I think they'll do in year one. And this was before everything even came out. This is even after they fell apart at the end of the year in the Pac-12. I still think they could go undefeated in the regular season. I think they'll bring in that much talent to have a chance to go undefeated in the regular season in the Big 12. Now, how all of this meshes well with the transfer portal, because it seems as if they've just totally given up on high school recruiting. The 25 guys all decommitted. The 24 guys in the high school pretty much decommitted. Aaron Butler, who was their highest rated 24 recruit, went ahead and decommitted. He's opened his recruit. He's the young man. He was actually playing high school football, had a few injuries, and just shut it down. He said, shut it down. I'm just going to enroll early at Colorado. He's since decommitted recently this week, I think, because I think they've pretty much given up on high school recruits unless you're a Jordan Seaton type of player. Aaron Butler, that's not to say he wasn't he's a top 80 player in the country, but he's not Jordan Seaton. Jordan Seaton is, you can probably, if he adds that weight, he's going to have to add that weight, probably plug him in at left tackle. Aaron Butler, you probably couldn't do that for him. Unless you were Travis Hunter out of high school, Jordan Seaton type player out of high school, they've pretty much given up on the high school recruiting. That's what it looks like. And they're just going to go all portal. We will see if that works. Going 100% in the transfer portal didn't work that great last year, but that was a tough conference. It is what it is. You're moving into the conference with teams like TCU that you beat. And we'll see if that's able to work. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Coach Prime revamps his offensive line, including adding the #1 offensive tackle in the country, Jordan Seaton. My name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. This is the Victor Formation Sports Show right here on Jeff Lightsy Jr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because I upload all the time. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. That is on X and Instagram at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.